What's up, folks? You believe that? Hold on. Do you believe that?
Up Nation, what's going on? Y'all hit that like. Y'all let me know in the chat how your day's going. What's on your mind? A quick shout out. You might notice I got the mic stand going. I got it going. I've had a lot of people give me some feedback. They don't like the Bob Barker stuff. So gonna try my best to work without the hands. We'll see how this goes, but appreciate you guys. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day, and I'm excited to get into this. Let me go ahead and cut the music. I'm going to dive in a little bit more into this Shedeur Sanders UCLA film. Super appreciative of all the comments and feedback that I've gotten on those videos, doing the film breakdowns, trying to understand what was going on with our offense this past year. What were things Shedeur Sanders was referring to when he was doing that interview with dnvr, talking about the option routes, the offense, what he likes about Pat Shurmur, all of that. And I kind of have a little correction or a revisit to do on one of these plays. And again, I want to say thank you so much for everybody that has reached out, that has commented on the videos. I might not always have time to respond, but your feedback and your conversation, honestly, is greatly appreciated with this. And so you might have a video on Saturday breaking down some of this stuff. I had a video yesterday specifically looking at this play titled, I think on the thumbnail it was, "Can y'all explain this to me? Because I want to know what's going on." And I had wondered, okay, is this some of what we were seeing with the option routes, with like two different plays being run, right? And if you guys need a refresher, again, here it is. You got Shedeur Sanders doing a little play action, fake handoff here to Dylan Edwards. And then he's reading this field with this route combination run between Travis Hunter and Javon Antonio coming up on this little poster slant. And you can see that this play, it kind of just ends up going nowhere. Because again, you got these guys running routes. Then you have these guys that are blocking. They're not even running routes. That's Jimmy Horn and Zay Weaver. And I'd wondered, guys, like, what is going on with this play? Because you don't even see Dylan Edwards here doing anything. He kind of just stalls out after that fake handoff. He's not running into the flat or anything like that. And a lot of the feedback that I got from y'all yesterday, again, I'm really appreciative of it because, I'm always quick to say I'm a professional keyboard coach, but man, I'm still learning the game. I've never coached or played. So sometimes when you guys see me do some of these film breakdowns, it's really from a novice point of view. And it was really cool to see what some of the comments were talking about, how this is kind of a disguised look, a little bit, with them kind of bringing what you would call a simulated pressure, I guess. Let me go back and start it here. Again, they're kind of showing pressure with these four, but then this edge or linebacker comes off, playing a little coverage cushion back there. You got this blitz or this linebacker that's coming up as part of the rush. They drop this other linebacker in coverage. But a lot of what I heard from the comments was this right now is if you're reading two high safeties and this is an RPO action, this should have been handed off from Shedeur. And the reason is normally is because you have an advantage with where you're running this in terms of the numbers game. But yeah, as you can see, if this was handed off to Dylan Edwards, I mean, he definitely has a lot of space here. The penetration here is from the inside, and this is a run play that could go for a substantial amount of yards if Jimmy Horn and Zay Weaver are able to hold their blocks. We'll never know how it turns out. Shedeur Sanders ends up holding the ball. And then what makes this difficult is that if he chooses not to throw the pass option, then it's really just left up to himself to run the ball. I guess a fair criticism in my mind, I'm curious what you guys think, is if, after this, after Dillon takes the fake, he should just run out into the flat just in case something is going on where he might be that third option to receive a pass from Shedeur here in this situation. Then he's already got blockers upfield. So I don't know, but I just wanted to come back to this and explain this to you guys in case you haven't been able to see any of those comments or was like me wondering what the heck is going on. We see half the receivers running routes and we see half the receivers not running routes. Thank you so much. That's greatly appreciated. And I wanted to go through another play here again to remind you guys of what might Shedeur Sanders be talking about, where he wants to have a clearer idea of the routes guys are running so that the pressure can be put on him to make the correct reads, right? And I'm not sure if I showed this play or not on Saturday, but I think this is a really good example of putting Shedeur in a situation to read a part of the field and to make a quick decision. And here it works out really well. For context, guys, this is a 3rd and 2, okay? We got empty, 5 wide receivers out there, all right? And UCLA should be rushing 4. I mean, that's mainly what they did throughout this game. And you can see what Shedeur's doing is he's reading what this cornerback is doing, I believe, seeing if he's sticking with, I think that's Travis Hunter there with man, because he knows he's got a nice little out from Javon Antonio here past the sticks that he can throw to if he has man coverage. Now, if this were to be zone, then maybe he might be able to go to, I think this is Travis over the top. It might not be Travis, but this wide receiver over here. But then if not, he's got, oh yeah, actually this might be Travis. It doesn't matter, guys. He's got this wide receiver available in the flat. And I forget what other routes these guys were running, but this is an instance where he has an idea of where he wants to go on the field. He makes this read very quickly, and you see him throwing this with anticipation before Javon is even out of his break. So you can see here completed, 3-4 yards past the sticks for that first down. I think this is a lot of the stuff that Shedeur's talking about in terms of I want to get rid of the ball quicker. Sometimes with not being on the same page with the wide receivers in terms of how they're reading the defenses and what route they're choosing to run versus how he's reading the defense and what route he's anticipating to throw, I can understand why he would be back in that pocket for another split second, right? Having to make sure, hey, this is what I'm seeing. This is what this guy is doing. And that can be a tough thing to do. Of course, a lot of choice routes are run at the NFL level, but was Travis Hunter pretty much the only wide receiver he had experience with coming into this past year? You got to take time to build that rapport. I don't think you'll see option or choice routes go away in the Pat Shurmur offense, but I imagine it's not going to be as prevalent, because I think we'd like to see these things where Shedeur can see how the defense lines up, see what kind of look he's getting in terms of coverage, and then make a decision there from there on. That's what he was talking about last week. So anyways, guys, I know this might be a little bit shorter of a live stream, but I'll get to some of your comments here. Just, hey, shout out to everybody. K Vizzy, I am back in the film room. Hey, I'm learning stuff every day, and that's why I'm greatly appreciative of this community. It's a lot of fun. Dizza, see how the D linemen run freely at Shedeur? Saboteur, O lineman, double team. One D lineman play was busted before it started. Let me go back to that because, yeah, I mean, I pointed out some of this stuff this past year or this past weekend, sorry, with just the offensive line miscommunicate. It was very clear the entire year that these guys had no idea who they were blocking. And y'all just might want to chop that up. Again, the coaches, and when you interview other coaches about it, they're never going to throw another coach under the bus. They're always going to blame the players, saying, hey, they didn't have the dogs or whatever. But in my opinion, when you see these guys that are, hopefully this video loads, when you see these guys that are just straight up missing things and they're running in opposite directions of where the pass rush is coming from, when that's happening with every offensive lineman, I'm going to point the finger back at the guy who's coaching them when it's a theme with the entire group. So, yeah, you can call that intentional sabotage if you want. At the end of the day, we know that the coaching on the offensive line left a lot to be desired, and it did not help this group elevate at all. The coaching, you could even argue that it made guys worse. So hopefully this thing will load here. Oh, that's Colorado defense. What am I doing? Thanks for your patience, guys. Alfaru, I'll get to your comment here in just a minute. Okay, yeah, you guys can see it. Alfaru saying he has to throw the slant. It's open. Yeah, I mean, I would say that this is definitely open at the college level, no doubt at the NFL level. I mean, you're expected to thread those things, right? Alfaru, layer it right between where this linebacker's out a little bit outside of where this slant break is and where this safety is covering. I think you're totally right. A little bit easier said than done when I guess you already got a guy in your face, right? Poor Shedeur. Guys, it was a total miracle this guy did not have a serious injury after this past season. That is for darn sure. Yikes. But yeah, this is something where you'd want to throw with a little bit more anticipation, I guess. And something that I'm hoping we see more improvement from Shedeur this year, because he will have a better pocket to work from. Just a bummer of a play right there. Alfaru also saying, but if he keeps it, he has to throw the slant right behind the drop guy. It's a timing route. Yep. That's what we just touched on. Zion, UCLA was dominating CU with 3 down linemen. Yeah. Guys, again, when you're generating a serious pocket penetration with a 3 down rush or 3 down lineman rush, I mean, it's just sad news. I think there might have been a couple more plays that I can pick out here. Let's see. I think I had another one. I want to go to 752 here. I'm not sure if I touched on this one. But this is something also where, is this it? I think this is a screenplay, if I remember correctly. So yeah, like this is stuff where, again, I don't know if the play call is just for there to always be a fake right here and then to throw the screen. But all I know is that like we did a ton of these fake handoffs last year when we were barely running the ball. And then this safety does a really good job of just anticipating what's going on, and he's able to get a jump on this little screenplay to Jimmy even before it comes out of Shedeur's hands. You see, I mean, he already knows what's going on. And I guess you could argue too that, hey, if you got that high safety look, you got 5 guys in the box, that should be a play in which you're giving the ball to Dylan, correct? Like in most situations, you got 5 guys on 5 guys, got an advantage there with the run blocking. But I can understand in a sense of why Shedeur would still pull this back and throw it if that is the case too, just because again, sometimes you got 5 offensive linemen and they can't even block 3 correctly. But I mean, this play just goes nowhere. But I saw a lot of these plays throughout the year where I don't know if they're designed RPOs to where a handoff is a possibility if it's part of the play, or if it's just a traditional kind of play action fake design. But I think for the most part, Shedeur would, be passing out a lot of these plays, and that extra motion spent to fake when UCLA or these other defenses know that 80% of the time we're going to be throwing it. It just allowed defensive backs to get a quicker jump on what was going on, to where then we weren't even able to utilize getting the ball out in the short game quickly, right? Because it's not really coming out as quickly as you'd want, because they're not really worried about playing the run at all. So I think, again, guys, like it is so important for us to establish a run game. I don't know if you guys can expect, I probably sound like a broken record saying this, I don't know if you can expect us to become a run heavy team this next year, but I think it's safe to say that when we do choose to run, it's going to be much more effective, and that's going to help everybody. Yeah, Bill O'Boyle was totally to blame. And if you haven't seen that Coach Prime episode where Coach Prime stands up, poor Kareem Harden, says, "Why aren't you on the field?" And the poor guy's like, "I don't know. I'm like 30 pounds heavier than the guy starting ahead of me. I got no idea." I mean, he wasn't saying that. That's just how I interpret the whole thing. And then Coach Prime calls on Bill Boyle and says, "Tell me why." And he goes, "Assignments." It's like, come on, man. Not even the guys you got out there know their assignments now. Nah. And I think, Maurice, that's definitely something that I'm going to be hoping and looking for Shedeur to improve. I think that's totally an area of growth for him, is to improve his skills manipulating the pocket, getting rid of the ball quicker. Again, I think some of the play calls that we have this next year could help benefit him in improving those things. But I would agree. It wasn't all 56 sacks or anything like that, but there were some times where, Shedeur can tend to drift after his drop and drift into some of these pressures and tackles. And again, that's a lot easier said than done when you're used to facing pressure all the time. But hopefully that's something that we can give him a cleaner pocket, give him more confidence to step up into the pocket more often this next year, and really see his game grow in that. William Barry, hope you're doing well. I was just watching the CU team workouts. Just like I said, Yakiri was hiking the ball to Shedeur while he was practicing his passes. And Walter was also working with Shedeur. I love that. Walter Taylor, if you guys aren't familiar with, he's one of our backup quarterbacks, 6'7", transfer from Vanderbilt, lefty, if I remember correctly. But I love to see that. Yakiri working with Shedeur, developing that rapport. I think a lot of people are penciling him in right now as the favorite for that starting center position. And man, I don't blame you. I think like right now, it seems like the momentum is going in that direction, but we'll have to see what happens in the spring practices and all that. But I think things are looking real good for Yakiri hearing that. Sir Ken, good to see you. Thank you so much. Mike, great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Alpha, it's tough to run an effective RPO with no running quarterback. Totally. That's why you won't see Tom Brady run an RPO. You are correct. Some fakes are unnecessary. Thank you for that. And man, this is a wonderful point. I don't think Shedeur will be running a lot of this type of stuff that we just covered at the NFL level because he's not a running quarterback. He's not a threat to run. He's a threat to scramble, right? But he's not a running quarterback. You don't want to be calling these RPOs often. And so I think it would benefit Pat Shurmur and the rest of the offense to do a lot less of this next season. And I think going back to Sean Lewis, the quarterbacks that he had, they were dual threats, especially the one that was at UCLA this past year. I can't remember his name right now, but in 2021 or 2022 at Kent State, I mean, the quarterback was like the third most carries, guy in the team. I mean, he had a ton of rushes. So they were running a ton of RPOs. And I think that, yes, I guess this could have helped the run game develop if Shedeur was taking care and running the ball a little bit more. We saw that with UCLA or USC, for instance. We saw Shedeur run more of that, but that wasn't anything that was sustainable in terms of using him in that way. And hopefully we can just call pass plays to where he's able to get the ball out of his hands right after the snap. So often, if you go back and look, like I said, he's always doing that fake. And so then it kind of nullifies what passing quickly and get the ball out of your hands, trying to get the guy's ball in space can do, because those DBs are already reading what's going on and making a jump on the play. Kaimos G, hopefully I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you for the comment. Exactly. He's more of a Mahomes or Stroud type and less of a Fields or Jackson. And wonderful point. I'm sure you guys watched the Super Bowl this past weekend, and you saw in those critical situations, they ran those. I don't know if they were just read options or RPOs with Patrick Mahomes, in crunch time I can't remember if they were close third downs or fourth downs, but during the second half, there might have even been one in overtime. And they don't use Mahomes in that way very often. And so that's why those plays went for such big gains. It's not a part of their offense. Of course, Mahomes has a fantastic ability to scramble, but I mean, pretty much the theme is with any successful quarterback in the NFL, they're getting rid of that ball real quick. Yeah, exactly. Unless you do it in the Super Bowl. And that's where you can kind of game plan some of these wrinkles in, because these teams, they haven't seen them run this stuff often on tape. It just goes to show you how well prepared Andy Reid had that Kansas City Chiefs team, and particularly that offense, to deal with the defense. And again, one of the best at making second half adjustments in the NFL. But yeah, if the Niners don't muff that punt, do they win the Super Bowl? They very well could have, but we know what happens. Special teams, when you neglect special teams, 8-point swing right there in favor of the Chiefs. Crazy. But all right, guys, that was just a little bit of what I wanted to touch on. Again, I'm really appreciative of the dialogue I'm able to have with you guys, being able to take a look at this film stuff and learn a lot from you guys. And hopefully some of y'all still find this educational. If you're like me, that's still trying to learn the game at a more detailed level, I just love doing this stuff. I love taking a look at it, and always greatly appreciative of when you guys take time to tune in to help me break this down and to understand it. And yeah, so I have to get going. I appreciate your time as always, everybody. We'll see if I'll be back later today. maybe we get some more news to talk about, but I'm not really sure. But anyways, guys, hit that like on the way out on the replay. Let me know your thoughts as always, and go Buffs.